In Africa today, creativity no longer lives only on stage or in studios. It lives on feeds, reels, and timelines. Algorithms now shape what we see, who we follow, and even what we buy. A single push from TikTok, or from Instagram, or from YouTube can turn an unknown creator into an overnight household name. But with that opportunity comes new tension. Many African creators struggle with visibility, show bans, lack of fair compensation, and the likes. Brands want measurable results, but often reduce creativity to mere numbers. Meanwhile, audiences are left to question what's authentic versus what's engineered by digital systems. And as Africa's creative economy grows into a multi-billion-dollar force, the big question remains, are we building influence or are we chasing virality? Are brands and creators truly aligned, or is a system set up to benefit only the platforms? Also, across Africa, the story of leadership is often marked by abrupt transitions, recycled elites, and fragile institutions. Elections end in disputes, handovers are chaotic, and succession plan is almost non-existent. Nations cannot grow sustainably if leadership recruitment is based on money, patronage, or ethnicity instead of competence, vision, and integrity. These are the two stories we'll be tackling right here on Fafanwa Africa today. Welcome to the show. This is the show where we spotlight the youth, the challenges, the opportunities, and of course, we prefer profound solutions. My name is Blessings Masugu. Grab a cup of coffee or whatever you can find because it's about to be 1 hour of insightful conversations. Now, digital influence is not just entertainment, it's business. Brands are investing heavily in influencer marketing, creators are monetizing attention, and tech platforms are setting the rules. But algorithms don't always favor Africa. Content moderation policies, global biases, and the lack of African-built platforms mean that our stories sometimes fight harder to be seen, and even our creators sometimes fight harder to be recognized. But at the same time, young people are proving that authenticity and grassroots culture can break through the noise. From street fashion to comedy skits, African creativity is not only surviving, but defining global trends. And the challenge is ensuring that this influence becomes sustainable wealth and not just fleeting fame. Well, it's not about to be a monologue like I always say. So joining us today are two beautiful ladies with me in the studio. First, I have the General Manager at Dentsu Performance Nigeria Lagos, Lola Akinyele. And of course, I have Toyosi Oduyale, the founder of the Y brand. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
You both look so stunning. I'm blushing. All right, so we're talking about a very broad, but still not very talked about conversation today, and that is creativity, the African market, and brands and marketing. So I will start with Lola. How would you say that digital performance has changed the way brands across Africa see marketing?
So what used to happen before, a lot of digital marketing was, I just want to be seen online. But what performance marketing has done is, I need results. So a lot of brands are seeing digital more as a results-driven platform as opposed to a stature or something I just need to be seen on. So you're actually getting brands that are selling online. They're actually making their revenue online. So it's changing how business is done. It's not just going into the market. It's also going, you know, on online stores. You're interacting with the brand through their influencers. You're able to talk to the brand to complain about things that you're not happy with, and they're able to give you feedback as well. It's made the gap between the consumer and the brand very, very small.
All right, thank you for that. Toyosi, still talking about online influence, looking at the statistics and the numbers, they say numbers don't lie. What role would you say that online influencing plays in sales?
I think in today's world, it plays a big role. I think in times past, you could say that, you know, it wasn't really a big part of sales.
Yeah.
It was just something that a lot of companies used to do to tick the box. Okay, you know, we just need to be online and all of that. But today, digital has surpassed, you know, the traditional, and digital is where most of the things are happening. And now you have platforms that have online, sales options. You don't have to go to a physical store. And now the majority of things are done there. So it's kind of taking over what we were used to before. And everyone is paying attention as they should, because that's where most of the commerce is happening now.
All right, thank you for that. Let me come back to you, Lola. Talking about some of these social media platforms, there's always, at this point, it's no longer a speculation. It looks as though there is a bias against African creators. And it's ironic because African creators make up one of the largest population across all social media platforms. Anywhere you go, you find them on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, and the likes of X, rather. So what do you think about the bias, and what reason would you say there is for such bias? Because it can't be that we don't have the numbers. We do have the numbers, so we have the influence. So what could it be that is the reason?
So depending on the platform that you're using, a lot of platforms have their own policies. And I think for African content creators, you also need to understand what the policies are. So policies against violence, gender bias, things like that. A lot of our content in this part of the world, we don't really pay that much attention to those kind of things. For us, banter is banter, humor is humor, whatever is funny. But for a lot of other people, certain bits of content are offensive. So those platforms tend to shadow ban that kind of content. There's also the other side of it, that the algorithm works based on engagement. So if people are engaging with a certain type of content, that's the content that people are going to, the platform is going to push. So depending on what your friends or the friends of your friends are engaging with. So for instance, music has become very large. Anything that has music in it is bound to get a lot of engagement because the rest of the world is engaging with our music. So it means that other things, like other pieces of content like our humor, because humor is subjective, it's cultural. Those kind of things might not necessarily be engageable with. So you find that the bias, it's something you can work around, but it's not always so bad. It's for us to learn what it is that shadow bans us and to change the tactic.
All right, okay. I like that angle because, Africans are always so hell-bent on, there's a bias against us. And we don't really care to understand the algorithm, how it works. We just believe that if we're pushing our content the way the whites are pushing it out, we should always get the results like they do. So thank you for that angle. Toyosi, now, one thing she said is going to segue into my next question, which is about likes and comments and shares. I understand that real influence, yes, the algorithm might be about likes and shares because what you share is what they push, but real influence is not necessarily about likes and shares. Sometimes you might have the numbers following you and then you have very low engagement. You see people with millions of followers still asking, please engage. So how do brands measure real influence beyond the numbers we see on their feed?
I mean, that's a very good point. And this is something that, we always advise brands to do, which is pay attention to the level of engagement. Because that's how you know how effective what you're doing is. Many people can get likes. Likes can be, in quotes, engineered, but engagement cannot be. It has to be organic. And so if you're looking at that as your metric, the way to do that as a brand is to be authentic. And you need to be telling a story that connects with people. Because otherwise, you're just going to fall into the large sea of brands competing for people's attention, and you're never going to quite get it. They might like your visuals, they might like, your logo and colors, but if you're not connecting with them emotionally, then that's a problem. And this is where brand strategy comes in, and why you have to have all of that work done before you start communicating, because otherwise it's never going to connect with your audience. And so you have to do all that work before you start releasing stuff out there, making sure that you're connecting with the right people. And who exactly are you trying to connect with? Is it, some people say everybody. I say all the time, it can be everybody. You have to be very clear about the kind of people
target audience
you want to target, exactly, and then go in with the right connecting information. If you connect with them emotionally, they will engage.
All right, interesting. Okay, let me come to you, Lola. And this is one that actually piques my interest because now there's a lot of AI and content engineering. And it wouldn't have been a problem, but now some of these AI videos are more engaging. I can stay up all night watching the pregnant cat that is cheating on her husband, So It now looks like the real creators are being boxed into a formula to make their videos as engaging as these AI videos, and sometimes even the engagement on these AI videos are still more. What would you say the future of engagement and influence is with this new development?
So I think it depends on your perspective. I've always looked at it more of a positive, what's the opportunity? AI content is a type of content, it's not all content.
Yeah.
I see AI as being more of an augmentator. It's something that's going to help influencers. There are lots of skits and things that I see, and people who are making content, but the content, for whatever reason, maybe you want it to look a bit different. Maybe it is you want, so there's a content creator online that I follow, and he makes very elaborate skits, and the storytelling is very elaborate. If you add AI to that, he's making mini movies, 5-minute movies online. That's where I see AI playing a role. For fashion influencers, your background might not be the background that you like, but AI can help you with that. It can help you with the design, the look and feel of your page. That's where AI comes to play. So there's an opportunity for AI. I think it's for content creators to look and see, okay, where can I add AI to my work, as opposed to AI being the enemy or the competition, because like I said, AI is one type of content, and you find as you know, online things go, it's a phase. People will soon get tired because it's the same. So it's about creating something innovative, something new for other people to see.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, Toyosi, let's talk about brands versus influencers. And when I look at these two concepts, I look at it from the angle of opportunity, and also there are the dangers of it. There is the calling out culture now, and Gen Zs are very impatient people.
Yeah.
So they influence for you, and you're supposed to pay in 24 hours, you don't pay in 25, they're calling you out. And once they call you out, it takes, you know, it takes divine intervention for your brand to still stand. Was it last month? There was a lady who went on she had a campaign into the market and all. She tied the brand's name on her waist and she was calling the lady out. So, of course, there are advantages of, you know, having the numbers and dealing with brands, but how would you advise brands to manage that kind of situation? Because sometimes it's just minor misunderstandings that can be sorted. But these people feel, I have the numbers, you cannot do anything to me, and then before you know, they're calling you out.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a good question, because, of course, influencers are a big part of you know, digital marketing today. And a lot of brands like to work with influencers for increased reach, you know, encouraging people to use the brand, engage the brand. However, like you said, sometimes it can go sour.
Yeah.
You know, we've had things like that happen before. However, like you said, it's a big opportunity, and I tend to lean into what Lola said, even about AI, that, you know, these things, there's not a problem with the instrument itself. It's how you utilize it. And so the first step is for brands, make sure that you are working with influencers who genuinely share the same values as your brand and have bought into your brand. Because that way you tend to get less friction. So where things like this tend to happen is where brands are aiming for big influencers who maybe have something to do with their brand, maybe they might not care about your brand, they're just looking to make money.
Yeah.
And so when you engage people like that, there's no sentiment, there's nothing. There are influencers who genuinely love the brand.
Yes.
It'll be very difficult for them to go online and drag you because there was a small misunderstanding. And so in, you know, guiding influencer relations with brands, I would say the first thing is, again, like I said, make sure you have your brand strategy, because if you have that, it's very, very clear what kind of influencer you want to work with. Because what you want to do is be effective in your working with that influencer, to make sure that, number one, their audience members are who you are trying to target.
Yes.
And then number two, because they have shared values with your brand, they immediately connect with you. So they are less likely to go that route, you know. And then another thing I would say is, aside the influencer themselves, sometimes working with influencers can become sour. Recently, there was the Sydney Sweeney thing with American Eagle, and, you know, the overwoke people were complaining and saying, you know, why is she saying she has, why are they saying she has great genes? You know, is it about, oh, she's white, she has blonde hair? But they doubled down, and they were able to do that because they had done their homework, because they knew exactly what the messaging was, they knew why they chose her as an influencer, and they were able to back her up. Brands are not able to do that when they haven't done the hard work behind the scenes, and they haven't thought through why they are working with that influencer and what their messaging is. So that's what I would say, you know, to guide influencer relations, work with someone you know has shared values as your brand, genuinely can love your brand, and also do your homework and be clear about what it is you're doing with them, so that if things turn sour at the end of the day, you know how to manage it.
I should be taking notes. I don't know what category I'm following yet, whether the brand or the influencer, but I'm really, really spot on. Okay, Lola, I want to come back to something that you said about how algorithm works. And I'm glad that you called our attention to that, because we can always have a biased perspective of the discrimination. But now that we understand that the algorithm doesn't always work the way we expect it to, it's not automatic, you post the video and then it goes viral. We cannot deny the fact that there are opportunities for African creators, but how do we now tap into those opportunities? What do we need to do better? What do we need to stop doing so that we can have as much visibility as the outside world?
I think the most important thing to do is to, and this is for influencers, content creators, is to remember that what it is they're doing, if it is their focus, is a job. And with every job, you have to constantly learn. You have to collaborate, you have to expand your frame of reference. And I say this because even the algorithm changes. The requirements of trending, of going viral, change. You have to be in the know, you have to be educated in terms of what is changing. So, and I'll give you an example. In the early days of social media, it was hashtags.
Yes.
And every hashtag you would tag and you would trend because you were tagging. That no longer works. It used to be likes. It now no longer works. On Instagram, it's how many people have saved your post. So you also need to know what it is that the algorithm is looking for and to feed it what the algorithm is asking for. And that's the only way that you can also get seen. There's also the other part of, it's not just about the numbers of how many people have liked or saved your post. There's also the authenticity aspect of it, which is what you've talked about. A lot of brands increasingly are looking for authentic influencers. So is this influencer somebody who lives my brand? Is this influencer, do they have people on their platform who are people who I want to already speak to? These are the things that are important. So for influencers, it's building your own personal brand. Who are you? What is it that you offer? What are the things that no other influencer, no other content creator can touch you on? So those are the things that you need to kind of look at when you're creating your persona as well.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm learning a lot actually. Let me come back to Toyosi. So one thing that always bugs my mind is, because I know that there is a phenomenon called customer loyalty, right? Especially in Nigeria, once they carry your brand on their head. If it's, for example, one particular blue detergent that they've been using since they were children, there's nothing you will say, that's what works for them. That's what their mother's mother used. So, and it also applies to everyone. It applies to me. There's some things that I'm just very comfortable. I've tried other things and I only just use that. Now, I follow a lot of these influencers. I love the way they influence for brands who are competing brands with, the products that I use. But I would not naturally just go and buy it because this person is influencing for it. When I see it, I'm like, this girl is trying, this brand should pay her more. But it will not translate into purchase on my own end. There are certain people who will, because on their stories you see, oh, I went to the market today, I saw this, I bought this, but what is the sustainability? So considering that, how do brands now, yes, let's not also forget the fact that there are also brands who get sold out. There are some, maybe fashion brands, for example. There are some things you post, because I love fashion. There's some things you post, I'll just buy everything, So we see a lot of sold out gang, a lot. But there's also the part that there's just people who, there's nothing you will say that will make them stop buying what they're already buying. So looking at this from the angle of the influencer and the brands, how do you now manage that? Is there a particular expectation on the influencer? What's the dynamics?
This is a very interesting one and a very good question, because a lot of brands wrestle with this. Some of them say we engage an influencer and we didn't see the results, what's going on? And what I'll say to that is, number one, understand the market that you're in. Because, especially in Nigeria, you're right, there's a lot of mass market people that just because a particular person is using something, they don't need convincing them, go ahead and buy it. So understand the market, but also understand the category that you're in as well. So for example, there are certain categories where, like you said, for certain brands, nobody's ever going to go near. So for example, fashion, people are a bit more loyalist when it comes to fashion, even though to a certain degree, brand loyalty is a myth as well. The truth is that customers buy in repertoires. And what that means is that there's a certain group of brands that they will buy around. If you go to a supermarket and you're looking for a particular drink and you don't find that one, there's an alternative one that you're happy with, right? Which is where marketing becomes a bit more dynamic. And, you know, as a brand, what you're aiming for is to be in as many repertoires as possible. Let people be able to recall you. But when it comes to the point of influencers, like I said again, understand the market that you're in, understand your category. If it's the kind of category where people are very loyal to a particular brand, then you want to connect with an influencer who has a very strong relationship with their audience. And usually you find them, we call them micro-influencers. They have very small communities, but they are very effective. So for example, if you are a nutrition brand, a food brand or nutrition brand, you probably want to work with, and you're targeting, for example, families, you probably want to, you know, work with a mom blogger, for example. People there are more likely to trust her recommendations than some random influencer who has a big following. Do you get what I mean? So with that, like I said again, it's very, very important to understand who your target audience is. And as a brand, what's our own brand identity? What are our values? What are we trying to project? What are we trying to communicate? And where is their synergy? Because if people trust the influencer that you're using, they're more likely to be swayed by them. So yeah, I would say understand the market, understand the category, understand your target audience, and, you know, work according to all of that. Sometimes those micro-influencers and those small communities are way more effective than trying to aim for the people with the big followers.
Okay, so let me come back to Lola and streamline it now. We've talked about the brand and the influencers, but I want us to look at another dilemma for the influencers, and that is sometimes there's some kind of collaborations that would now require you to go off brand, right? Let me use an example. Say as a content creator, you've built a brand, you've built a large following of making black and white videos. And then one beautiful smartphone company now comes and says, we want you to show the color, how dynamic and fluid the phone is. And some people stick to their brands, but in this current economy, and then maybe the pay is good, you know, you now see that some influencers start to sway, you know, they start to go off brand. Some of them still try to, they go off brand, but then they still try to maintain, you know, the essence of their brand. But in essence, how does an influencer handle such situations?
I mean, for me, if you are going off brand for a brand engagement, I think you've kind of lost your way a little bit.
But it's easy to say, you know.
It's easy to say because it's true. And the reason I say this is because your audience is with you for a reason. They're with you for that authenticity that you bring. If it is that you're moving away from what it is people are enjoying about you, you're going to lose people. You might gain some other people, but you're losing who it is that you are. And I'll give you an example. In the US, there's this really famous makeup influencer. She's on YouTube. And throughout her whole career, she's, you know, talked bad about a certain makeup brand. This makeup brand then pays her to do an engagement.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly everything on her channel changes and she becomes their #1 influencer. It then becomes an issue because the people who followed her because she was honest. She gave honest reviews. But then when you turn around and start saying, actually, you know what, this brand is actually not so bad. Actually, they're actually quite fantastic. It then becomes an issue because people start to look at you and go, can I really trust what it is that you're saying? On the other hand, if it's done well, I'm a marketing person. If it is done well, then yes, why not? So using your example, the guy who does black and white, if it is the phone is packaged to bring you from black and white into the color, that is authentic because there's a reason why you did black and white. But this is just a short transition because the phone is doing something for you. It's bringing you into color. That's authentic. But you don't change your whole persona because of a brand endorsement.
Amazing. Again, where's my pen? Okay, all right. So I have one more question for both of you each. For Toyosi, I'm going to ask, the same way, you know, you mentioned about the evolving nature of these social platforms, from hashtag to this and that. Do you think that the influencer brand collaboration thing is sustainable in terms of sales and marketing? It seems to be doing really well, but eventually maybe marketers will decide to now use AI videos to just shoot whatever they want to shoot. So is it a sustainable culture?
So let me put it like this. I would say yes. Maybe it may not look the same exact way it looks like today. But the truth is, at the end of the day, when you're trying to do anything with people, the best thing to use is people, or the best thing to work with is people. And the truth is, brands that excel, brands that succeed, I say this all the time, tap into the emotions of people. The truth is that about 95% of our purchasing decisions are made emotionally. We're using our subconscious mind to make those decisions. And so the best way to do that is to have some kind of human connection. Now, a lot of brands aren't effectively able to do that by themselves. They can. Not every brand works with influencers. You don't always need influencers.
Yeah.
Some brands never work with influencers and they're fine. But I think that person's person, I wouldn't even call it influencer culture. I think I would broaden it and go into just humans. Because even before influencers came, people had brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
That was kind of what the name was for it back then. And now, because it's, content creators, we have the tag influencers. But the truth is, human beings have always influenced human beings. And so that will continue to be the trend throughout time. And so it might look different from what it looks like today, but that will continue to be the case. And so I would say that the guiding principle is find people who have the same kind of values, the same vibe as your brand, that have the same audience as who your brand is trying to target, and work with that. Don't sway too much away because a certain person is gaining traction or, the person is trending at the moment. Just the way she said, don't do that. Like, stay true to who your brand is and work with the people who share the same values as your brand, and you will be successful.
That's spot on, because consciously or subconsciously, humans are influenced by other human behavior. So why not just make money out of it? Okay, so final question to Lola. Looking ahead, how do you see the African creative market and creative economy evolving in the next few decades?
So what we're seeing, and the future is happening now, a lot of what we're doing online is more data-driven. So even in terms of how brands are using their influencers, how brands work online, data is a very big part of it, because you want to understand your audience a lot more. You want to understand who it is that you're speaking to. So you find that for the influencers, who are you engaging? So to your point about the detergent, yes, I use detergents. Yes, I use blue, and the influencer is selling white. My data will show me that this influencer is not, her followers, yes, they use detergent, but they don't use blue detergent. So this influencer is probably not right for my brand, even though she's popular. Data has become much more intrinsic. It has become much more detailed to the fact that you can then tell, okay, these are the people who are listening or watching these influencers. So for us, data is where the future basically is for a lot of brands and influencers.
All right. Oh, I wish this conversation didn't have to end. But unfortunately, this is where we draw the curtain on this segment. Lola Akinyele, General Manager, Dentsu Performance Nigeria Lagos, thank you so much for joining us. Toyosi Oduyale, founder of the Y Brand, thank you so much. Your smiles can even send me away from the studio. But thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in the studio.
Thank you so much.
You're still watching Fafanua Africa. It's been an interesting conversation. When we come back, we would look at leadership, a phenomenon that seems to be lost among the younger generation of today. We want to remind you, so stay with us.